are I can tell that you wanna leave with me, don't trip. Let's call for alcohol, then a whistle valet, about to take you home. Cause you so fly, and I'm that guy, hands down, I'm the best around. And baby, I ain't got no time to waste, I want that all on my face. Let's cut straight to the chase, right to the chase of things, yeah. All day. On my face. Nobody does it like you.
Your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends, you wake.
The snake was about 7 feet long, and one day it just stopped eating. After several weeks of trying everything, the lady still couldn't get the snake to eat. The woman took the snake to the vet and explained her situation. The vet replied, "I see. Has your snake been sleeping with you at night or snuggling real close and stretching himself out?" The woman said, "Yes, every day, and it makes me so sad that I can't help him feel better." The vet said to the lady, "Ma'am, your snake is not sick. It has been preparing to eat you. He's been sizing you up every day so he knows how big he has to be. He's not eating, so he has enough room to digest you. Moral of the story: recognize the snakes around you. Just because they seem close to you doesn't mean their intentions aren't to devour you. A woman had a pet
there's more for you, more for us.
She got the chain, she got the wall. Bring me up, 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 got the wall. Bring me up, bring me up, bring me up. What you gon' do now? Hope you're ready, cause I'm really about to put it down. Girl, you know that I will never disrespect you. We love tomorrow, but tonight I wanna spank you. That ass down, gotta make it last now. But also, then I'ma beat it up fast, girl. I push it down, let it be known. Tell your girls get down or get low. Back away from the door.
Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello out there.
Had this conversation. Shout out to everybody that's here. Dream Team, what's good? How y'all doing? Y'all know what it is. Y'all on a monetized channel. So it go like this. If you follow this page, I thank you for joining. That's all you gotta do is like it. That's all you gotta do is like it. What up, Lexington? What up, fam? That's all you gotta do is like it. However, if you like it a lot, then you go ahead and then share it out. If you love it from sharing it out, then you go ahead and subscribe. If you really, really love it after you subscribe, you become a member. Honestly, I haven't been exercising my member side, but I will start next week. Starting next Monday, I will be doing a lot of members only stuff. So I'm going to put some side on the side for members only. We're going to do it that way. Hey, Silky Smooth. Silky Smooth with all that chocolate in the building. What's going on, Tiff? What up, EJ? What up, Nene? What up, Nene? Wait a minute. Where you been at, Nene? How you been? Conquest Music, salute. Chris Terry in the building. Mama Love, how you doing? Everybody else. Who else? Who I'm missing? Who I'm missing? But I said Tip. Conquest in the building. Thick baby, low baby, thick baby, hey baby. What's going on? But we're going to talk about Rob today, man. And I'm going to be honest with you. If you want to donate to the channel, there's a little box that got a little $ in it. You go to hit that. It's called the Super Chat. That comes straight to the channel. Nothing's too big, nothing too small. Whatever you donate, I totally appreciate it all. And I must tell y'all, if you want to hit me directly, you see going across the ticket, it's called the Cash App. $ OfficialDanaJay. I split that with the channel. And believe it or not, I do what most people don't do. I put back into my channel because I realized I got to have the flyest channel on the planet. I know some other channels better than mine, but hey, what's going on? What up, Judah? What up, EJ? What up, Dennis? I'm just saying. And I want to say I thank the Dream Team for being here and to being the most sincere team ever. Yes, we have our ups and downs, but we don't let them other niggas see us sweat. And I said the word niggas. Let's go into it. The oral arguments. Everybody thought that I was going to jump out there and come and do oral arguments with everybody else. No. I'm going to switch my regimen up because I want people to understand this. Just because you the first to put a story out there don't mean that that's the only story that needs to be out there. If you know what I mean. Thanks, Dennis. Thank you, Dennis. I truly appreciate it. Just because you put a story out there don't mean that your story needs to be the only story out there. So what you do is you get everything that you need together. Hey, Ernestine, right? How you doing? And you get everything right. That's Dennis King coming through with the 10-piece. Yes, sir. That 10-piece nugget looking good. Thank you so much, Dennis King. Appreciate you, fam. Hey, Faith, how you doing? EJ, what's up? So, I'm just saying, like, just because you, hey, Miss Judge, just because you jumping out there with a story, every story that came out wasn't a right story. I've heard like 4 different stories, and I'm like, I know I was looking at that joint, but I was at a place where I couldn't record it because I was at therapy. Y'all know, I was at therapy, getting my stretch on and get my ice on, trying to get this ankle back together. But however, one thing I know is when the media get a hold of something, I've never seen a media be biased like the media in nowadays in time. Check out what they say.
R. Kelly is appealing to overturn a 30-year racketeering sentence in a New York court today. His attorneys arguing Kelly's conviction does not meet the definition of racketeering charges, claiming that prosecutors stretched the boundaries of the law too far. Prosecutors rejected that argument, saying there was plenty of evidence in the case. Kelly is right now serving his term in a North Carolina prison. The court's decision is expected in the coming months. R. Kelly.
So the court's decision is expected in the coming months. As I explained to somebody the other day, I said, no matter how you look at it, you're not going to get an immediate, announcement. Your announcement is not going to be immediate. You're going to get like a waiting period where you got to wait. However, I made a statement yesterday and people was like, oh, Dana, how can you say that? Because I meant it. Dana, how can you be so for sure about that? Because of the way it went down. So I'm going to say this, and I don't say this loosely. It kills me how people grace their platform and talk about such displeasure when it come to Bonjean, right? When they never tried the case. It's one thing to be an outside participant, but you shooting jumpers from across the street. She's at the free throw line. So whatever approach Bonjean who have litigation experience in the federal court and the appellate court, I think we need to let her do her goddamn job. Because it's easy to come out and say, oh, Bonjean was weak. Bonjean was this. Bonjean was that. But where was your ass? That would be my question. Where were you? And it kind of gets me when I see people say, yeah, I'm for R. Kelly, but I hate Bonjean. Yeah, I'm for R. Kelly, but I hate the positiveness that surrounds R. Kelly. Yeah, I'm for R. Kelly, but I'll rather side with the fake supporters that's helped keeping him in jail, that's helping these people mindset stay the same. Yeah, I'm for R. Kelly, but I can't break down nothing that's was said. It kills me. Because if you're going to be for Robert Sylvester Kelly, be for Robert Sylvester Kelly. So what we about to do in this segment, we about to listen to the oral argument, right? We about to listen to the oral argument. Chi-Town, what's going on? And we about to listen to the oral argument. And this is not my content. This is Big Bio opinion content. You know, I give out people shots out. I wasn't able to record it, and when I went to go look for it today, they took it down. Thank you so much, Nikki M. Oh, Nikki M says she gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. Oh my God. You could be a lucky recipient of a... Oh, hold on. I don't know how to do this now. Hold on, let me look. Okay, hold on. I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to allow it. I don't know how to do that. Yeah. Nikki just showed me something that I ain't know what to do. Oh, shucks. Okay, Nikki gifted Ivy. Nikki gifted Sussequi. Okay, Nikki gifted TSW. And Jay's Endure. Y'all got gift by Nikki. Nikki M. Thank you, Nikki. I don't know. They took it down. So I didn't understand why would you take it down. There's a lot of stuff I don't understand when it comes to these appellate courts. They post something, then they take it down. Just like these so-called bloggers. You post something, you take it down. Man, just if you're going to post it, leave it. That's where we at now. Leave it. I mean, and you know you got some people that'll go strike you. Yeah, here's the thing. If a person don't rock with you, right? Don't be smart and use their content. You know what I mean? That's egging something on. And I'm going to be honest. I've been a victim of that. I've also been a perpetrator of it. See the difference? When you can sit and say what you done and what you have been a victim of, you know what I mean? So that's how we gonna do that. You know what I mean? Just like if Vibe was to come in and say, yo, don't play my content, but I wouldn't play it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not just that type of person. So I'm giving Vibe his just due. Thank you so much, Mama Love, for being a member. Oh, shucks. There you go. I'm just saying, at the end of the day, we going to hear this oral argument, and I'm going to tell y'all exactly how I feel about it. I'm not cutting no punches. I'm not singing no roses. I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel about it. Let's go.
All right. And is it Ms. Bonjean or Bonjean? How do you pronounce your name?
Bonjean.
Bonjean. Yes. All right. Ms. Bonjean, you have reserved 3 minutes for rebuttal, so that gives you 7 minutes out of the gate.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
May it please the court. My name is Jennifer Bonjean, and I represent Robert Kelly. Like every RICO indictment seemingly in history, the government charged the defendant with being the member of an enterprise that had a common purpose of carrying out an illegal or illicit activity.
Well, I guess I'm trying to understand, are you challenging the jury instruction, which didn't say that the RICO enterprise had to have an illegal purpose?
No, Your Honor, I'm not challenging the jury instruction, nor could the jury instruction be challenged. The jury instruction is entirely consistent with United States versus Boyle. In fact, it's almost word for word the same jury instruction. And in Boyle, as this court may recall, where the enterprise or the instruction was challenged, even though it wasn't set out with specificity what the structure of the enterprise should be, the Boyle court said that's fine. It doesn't have to be. The jury doesn't have to be instructed with that level of specificity. In this case,
but you're arguing, it seems to me, that absent an illegal purpose, there can be no RICO enterprise.
Yes, because it would make nonsense of the statute.
Okay, but is it so? I guess A, what's the authority for that, and B, isn't that really a challenge to the jury instruction?
I don't believe it is. I think that.
But did the district court tell the jury that they had to find an illegal purpose so there could be no enterprise?
No, but the indictment did, and the indictment was incorporated.
No, the indictment listed a series of purposes.
Yeah, a series of purposes pled in the conjunctive, and the jury instruction, which had the indictment incorporated into it, pled that there were 4 different purposes, 2 of which were legal essentially, and 2 which were illegal.
All right, but I guess I'm asking a basic question to start, which is that if the government had just listed the legal purposes, your view is that that would not be sufficient for a RICO indictment?
No, in fact, district courts routinely dismiss complaints that do not demonstrate that the purpose of the common or the enterprise is illegal in nature. In fact, neither party has been able to find a single case where the purpose of the enterprise was entirely
You're arguing
legal.
that there was insufficient evidence here to prove an illegal purpose?
Correct, or illicit or fraudulent or some type of.
Wasn't there substantial evidence?
No, Your Honor, I respectfully disagree. There was substantial evidence of.
Please finish.
Yes, there was substantial evidence perhaps of defendant's wrongdoing in the context or using quote unquote the machinery of his organization, his entourage, those types of individuals. But there was very little evidence, almost and certainly not sufficient to meet the government's burden of proof, that any of those individuals acted with this common purpose to, quote, recruit women for Mr. Kelly for illegal sexual activity or for the production of child pornography.
So I'd like to just make sure I understand. It sounds to me as though you're making a legal argument that a RICO enterprise has to have an illegal purpose, as well as that here an illegal purpose was charged, but there was insufficient evidence of it.
Yes, Your
Is
Honor,
that right?
that's correct. That is precisely right.
And I want to understand, in light of Turquette, why we have to find an illegal purpose as well. I mean, there's language in Satinwood, and most of the cases that have been cited and discussed are in the context of a fraudulent purpose that may have some legitimate enterprise around it, but there's room for confusion there. But Turquette seems to say quite directly that the term enterprise as used in RICO encompasses both legitimate and illegitimate enterprises. So maybe you could help me.
Yes, the issue isn't whether it was a legitimate organization, a legal entity versus a non-legal entity. Turquette held, and the question before Turquette was the exact opposite, whether a RICO enterprise could be exclusively criminal, not whether it could be exclusively legal. And our position is that this was an organization that the government failed to prove had any criminal purpose. The government takes the position that for a RICO enterprise to exist, it need not be rooted in criminality at all, which would fly in the face of Turquette, frankly. Turquette looked at Congress's intent.
Didn't the government prove that one of the purposes of this enterprise was to recruit girls so that Kelly could have illegal sexual activity with them?
They pled it, they did not prove it. What they did prove is that through the course of a period of time, there were perhaps efforts to pass along information, a phone number, to invite someone backstage. There was no evidence presented that any of those individuals did so believing or knowing that someone was underage, that you go to a big concert, there are 17, 18, 19-year-olds. Even the victims themselves said, well, nobody asked me for my age. When the age came about, perhaps Mr. Kelly may have known, and that's what I think some of the women testified to, but there was no evidence that anyone went out there saying, may I find out what your age is? Are you underage? Come back. We want to serve you up to Mr. Kelly. That just didn't happen. And in fact, there is extraordinary evidence that the members of the enterprise, again, these are some of the people, I guess, that testified, repeatedly made it clear that what happened behind closed doors was not something they understood. Yes, there were rules and things they did, these anodyne tasks that were perhaps a little unusual, but not that put them on notice that what was happening behind closed doors was illegal. And we are talking about matters that happen behind closed doors. The fact that a video recorder existed in a bedroom does not ipso facto make it evidence that there is child pornography.
You're saying these other individuals didn't know that that these girls were underage?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I think the evidence that was presented to the jury was deficient in that regard. There was so much excessive evidence, frankly, about Mr. Kelly's wrongdoing that it would be easy to be tempted to go down the path. Well, everybody must have known, but that is just not what was demonstrated at trial. And
the appearance of these girls would be evidence enough, wouldn't it?
These were not 12-year-olds. These were not 13-year-olds. There were some example. What was testified to is that some of them looked young. And having multiple teenagers myself, looking young does not mean you know someone is a minor. And the question becomes, did they have an obligation to ask? Did they have to do due diligence, do inquiry when he said just go pick somebody up? Again, just using individuals, unwitting individuals who perhaps even turned a blind eye or who didn't inquire further, does not a RICO enterprise exist. And I would leave with this point that, simply speaking, I mean, I won't leave with it, but the law presumes in Turquette, which was an entirely criminal enterprise. They weren't speaking to the question of whether it could be a legal enterprise with a one man doing illegal acts in the context of the enterprise and using his employees. So Turquette does not, from where we stand, put this issue to rest. And what the government wants to do is simply read out of the statute organized crime. And at the end of the day,
They want to read out organized crime? What are you saying?
Yes, because the purpose of the statute, the RICO statute, is to address organized crime. Now,
it's not in the text, though, right? When you say read it out, right?
The definition of organized crime is not in the text of the statute. And in fact, courts have universally read organized crime very liberally, very broadly. And we're not quarreling with that. But you can't just have an organization that is not associated with any crime. Simply speaking, a RICO enterprise is a criminal organization. You can define it broadly, but is not an organization simply with a criminal. And that is what the government is asking the court to find here. I believe my time has expired.
But I mean, you're not challenging the jury instruction. So you're agreeing that everything the district court told the jury they needed to find was correct, right?
Your Honor, the jury instructions were consistent with every jury instruction ever given in a RICO case, historically. And frankly, is consistent with what the United States Supreme Court held in Boyle.
Right.
I don't know how.
So the jury wasn't asked to read out portions of the statute. The
Again,
jury was correctly instructed. And so I guess I'm trying to figure out, you're saying that the evidence didn't support the elements that were correctly instructed to the jury.
What I am saying, Your Honor, is that the government had an obligation, and in fact, the jury was instructed that the government had to prove the theory of the enterprise. The theory of the enterprise included criminal conduct that was pled in the conjunctive. And if it had been just simply legal activity pled in that indictment, it would have been dismissed. Because routinely, again, and we've cited numerous cases, as does the government, district courts simply do not allow RICO prosecutions or RICO suits to move forward where you don't have an actual fraud or illegal or illicit activity that is the moving force or that is the common purpose. This would be outside the realm of, again, contrary to the purpose.
Back on the issue of whether the staff knew the age, sometimes the staff booked the travel arrangements for them, and therefore they had to have identification documents. Isn't that evidence that they knew they were underage?
I think if you look closely at the record, you will see that the government was very clever, frankly, of conflating these issues where I do not believe there was any evidence that a employee booked travel for someone who was in fact under the age of consent. So you have to remember in Illinois, the age of consent is 17. It only becomes a federal crime if it's being videotaped. Now, do these people know what's happening in the bedroom? No, there is no evidence that
Wasn't
someone.
there evidence that the staff made sure that in his backpack, he had his iPad
No.
and recording equipment? The evidence doesn't show that?
It shows that people picked up his luggage. I mean, people pick up my luggage. I pick up other people's luggage. Am I responsible for what's in that luggage? It just takes this to the point of absurdity. We can't say an enterprise exists because unwitting employees are engaging in normal tasks that they do, particularly for high-profile people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you. As I'm reading this, right, Bonjean was absolutely correct. It don't give you an underlying basis of what the RICO is. It just tell you what it's about and what it's doing, right? And it says it very rarely prosecutes mall bosses now. However, I'm going to go to criminal RICO, and I'm going to break it down to you. To violate RICO, a person must engage in a pattern of racketeering activity connected to an enterprise. Now, watch this. To violate RICO, a person must engage in a pattern of racketeering activity connected to an enterprise, right? The law defines 35 offenses as constituting racketeering, including gambling, murder, kidnapping, arson, drug dealing, robbery. Significantly, mail and wire fraud are included on the list. Now watch this. A lot of people sat back and wondered why I said what I said about Don Russell. Right? Well, if it wasn't for him mailing in that situation, threatening faith, it wouldn't have been no trial in New York. If it wasn't for him trying to bribe people not to show a docuseries that Rob didn't know nothing about, then it wouldn't have been nothing going on in New York. Watch this. Why do you think they threw the Mann Act in there? The Mann Act simply is kidnapping. So therefore, they have two of the elements so far to throw the RICO at him, even though it wasn't true. Because who did he kidnap? This is what I mean when I say, when I listen to people talk and I listen to people try to break it down. Yo, if you got elements in there, whether it's true or not, they can give him the RICO because they have elements saying that this is what he did. Now, however, Ms. Bonjean broke it down. Yes, they charged him, but they didn't prove the predicate acts, nor did they prove any other acts. What they did in New York, because I was there, they overwhelmed the jury. And when you overwhelm somebody, what do? Oh man, this motherfucker got to be guilty. It's too much out here. And you got people who wasn't even included in the situation coming to testify. Now, I know a lot of people ain't going to like me today because I'm going to put it straight down the middle. However, I'm saying this and I'm saying this and I'm saying this. When Don Russell said, Rob made me do this and Rob told me to do this, and when he wrote that letter threatening Sharon Winbush, I said, uh-oh, Rob's in trouble. And a lot of people was like, no, he not. No, he not. I said, Rob's in trouble. Because if he went and sat with the feds, and if he would tell on somebody and get him life in prison over a dime bag of weed, what you think he gonna do with R. Kelly? Let's make this make sense. So at the end of the day, it's not so much of, oh, Rob did it. Rob did it. No, it's the people that he was associated with that went down there and told that Rob did this just because One, they didn't want to get pulled in. Two, they didn't want to let Rob know that they was telling. And three, they didn't want the smoke. At the end of the day, I must say on YouTube, we dropped the ball. Because we went attacking each other. When technically, as I sit back and watch this, could that have been the strategy of the feds all along? You dangle the carrot, make them go at it, make folks go at the carrot, and then say, look at them. If they would do this person this way, then they would definitely do this person that way. Let's give them a sequestered jury. See, I can't wait to talk to Brother Taz. I can't wait. And because most people will go at the angle of, oh no, you crazy. No, I'm not going to argue back. I'm going to break down the facts, and then I'm going to let him break his down, and then we going to meet in the middle and see what's what. Because everybody keep talking about this Aaliyah thing. Everybody's talking about Aaliyah. But also it says these crimes are known as predicate offenses. To charge under RICO, at least 2 predicate crimes within 10 years must have been committed through the enterprise. Watch this. Watch this. At least 2, right? Let me find it for you. At least 2. So when people say, oh, it's the parents. Well, what set of parents are you talking about? That's the crazy part. Because when you talk about the parents, you know what? Let me get this DanaJay sign out of here. Everybody know who I am. When we talk about parents, let's talk about parents. Let's go.
You know, stuff they won't put out stuff if we talk. Cause he ain't got shit on me. You might have Tim do the little play stuff.
Yeah, you might have Tim, but you ain't got shit on John Julian.
All day long like a lion, because he can't get nothing on me. I ain't did nothing. He ain't got nothing on me. Nothing. You can fight me up, head up. Now I'm just trying to get myself geared up for it. Cause I'll take it down. He trying to call for the mail. He ain't trying to call for me. But he don't know I'm the one who started it, because I had to convince him that what was going on. I'm the one who started this. I had to convince him that what was going on. I'm the one who started this.
I had to convince him that what was going on. I'm the one who started this.
Well, I'm like, this ain't right. And I started doing my research.
We kind of, so Tim basically he made contact with Mr. Grizz, and we met in his office. He was really listening, and he was trying to figure, because it's always in the back of everybody's head. A good attorney, you got to figure out what are your angles. How can you get this guy? Because they're over 18, they're with him. So he listened to our story. He listened to different things that we said, and then we just came up with he came up with some different angles that we could pursue.
It was on a tour bus.
Right.
Go to the FBI because they're on a tour bus, so they're crossing state lines. So it becomes federal. So the FBI is the person, the Alphabet Boys is the one you need to go to make sure that this get addressed. Yes, Shanti did go to the FBI. The Claras went to the FBI. Geronda went to the FBI. Lizette couldn't go to the FBI, but she would have. The young lady in Florida. Kitty Jones did not go to the FBI.
I've said this from day one, and I stood firm on it. Everybody involved should be questioned. No parent should be left unturned. The Savages, the Clarys, the Rogers, everybody needs to be questioned. Especially when he's being charged for Faith, and Faith mama is putting it out there that Faith don't even have herpes. But wait, we ain't get to that part yet. Because, see, I want to break this down. So, while Tim on there talking about, go to the FBI, this and this and this, the Mann Act is kidnapping. So, going across state lines, Tim tried to say that Rob kidnapped his daughter. But you heard Jongelin say that everybody was over 18. So here's the conflicting story. If everybody was over 18, what the hell is Azriel talking about when she said, oh, Robert slept with me when I was 17? At the end of the day, this is the same thing I told Angelo. Nobody knows when they slept with each other. Because remember, she said, oh, Robert ain't sleep with me until I was 18. He slapped me when he found out I was 17. So now you have more than one act. You got robbery from Demetrius Smith, but then that wasn't 10 years. So what they did was Baby Powder went and tried to bribe people. Well, that fell within 10 years. So you got robbery. You got attempted murder plot. You got kidnapping. That's 3 right there. That's enough to get you to RICO. But now you got to ask this question. It says these crimes are known as predicate offenses, right? To charge under RICO, at least 2 predicate crimes within 10 years must have been committed through the enterprise. Who the fuck is the enterprise? Hold on. It goes back to who? Don Russell. If you go back to Choke No Joke video, when Don Russell kept saying, Rob put a special enterprise together. So it's all these people against him. Right? And then the people that got mad at him because he cut them off. So now there's this Tupac shit. It's me against the world, baby. At the end of the day, and then I'm going to get to y'all questions. I'm going to get to y'all statements in the chat. Then I'm going to go back and listen to the rest of this. At the end of the day, the Demetrius Smith situation fell on deaf ears. Right? But the Baby Powder, the Daryl Johnson situation didn't. The Don Russell didn't. Then you got Don Russell coming on YouTube soliciting people. And they carrying out the bidding. So now they said, note that an enterprise is required. Note that an enterprise is required. Okay. Remember that. Note that an enterprise is required. I want y'all to remember that. Hold on. Come on, pull up, baby. I want y'all to remember that an enterprise is required. It says, note that an enterprise is required. Let's go. Note that an enterprise is required. Okay? I'm going to use this video. I'm going to use this video. I'm going to use this paperwork. And I'm going to show you just how easy it is to put an enterprise together. Watch this. Hold on. And when I put this together, y'all gonna be like, wow, I never thought about it like that. Yeah. A lot of people don't think about stuff like this. Come on. No, I don't need that. Hold on. No. What do I know? What do I know now? Now, they never said, would it have to be an enterprise of? It just said it have to be an enterprise. And let me go to 3. Let me see what's in 3. Let me see what's in 2. Nope. 2 and 3 is cool. So let me, hold on, what is this? Nah, I ain't worried about that. Let me do it this way. So it said, note that it have to be an enterprise. All right, let's break it down. Let's go. First things first. You got this dude, right? He giving threats to people.
Oh, you done fucked with the wrong one, bro. You know that, right? boy, you was a clown ass nigga, I swear to God. Funny as fuck. But you done fucked with the right one. I guarantee you're gonna find that out.
Then you have people opening up businesses, RSK Enterprises. Who else could it be talking about? Robert Cecil Kelly, right? And principal office is the studio. Okay, so the feds looked at that. You know they looking at people on the internet, right? So you have Don Russell on here calling out names, as he's always did. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? You got Don Russell starting it off. Then you got Don Russell bringing out letters like this. It says, to all RSK Day One fans, the Clarys and Savages planted a lot of moles, i.e. Steve Greenberg, Nicole Blank-Becker, Daryl Johnson, James Mason, John Holder, DanaJay, Jasmine Jazzy Johnson, whom, by the way, is Geronda's sister. At this time, the goddamn girl is pregnant, and you know she gonna go to the feds with this. Joycelyn Savage and Azriel Clary to disrupt RSK's life. Camp. Joy and Az deflected because they were against their family's malicious agenda after getting to know RSK. RSK pulled together a covert team. A covert team of investigators. A covert team of investigators. What is that in short? Enterprise. And then he didn't say and they, he said and we. began to weed the villains out and unravel the conspiracy surround his life and career. That's why he got pulled up by the feds. Though we have uncovered a lot, unfortunately, time was not on our side. We had begun to secretly film our own docuseries starring RSK and a ton of unforeseen content. The entire public lynching derived from greed. There is an enormous amount of information along with evidence that is purposely being disregarded because of government and special interests. The current judicial agenda will not be overturned unless a miraculous string of events are moved into play. Don Russell, that's him, right? So when their funds wasn't going the way that they wanted it to go because Rob instructed Doug Anton to start a defense fund, right? So with that being said, Don Russell went to one of my enemy pages, somebody that he employed, and this is how the conversation went.
Chaos Nation is coming out.
Hold on.
They have to disrupt it.
Gigabyte and put 500 songs on there because it's the song. All right, I beg to differ, Don, because I've been DJing.
Okay, we can agree to
disagree. But check this out. Let's go right here. Don. Why do Bozo keep thinking everybody's connected to you?
Because I'm public enemy number one. They know that I have what it takes and the stuff that I'm doing to work to get that man free. They have to disrupt it. That's all it is. They've done so much shit that if Rob was out, first of all, that shit about him putting my mom's name in it, Rob would slap the shit out that motherfucker, and I'm glad he said that in the public. Because when Rob does get out, he gonna slap the fuck out of him for that. Because him and my mom have a real strong bond and relationship, that he don't play that kind of shit with her. You know, when he makes it put somebody in the mother or auntie field, he don't play them kind of games. I mean, so for him to go and say my mom is forging documents and shit, I'm glad that came out of his mouth. Rob is going to get free of this shit. And if everybody that's constantly believing this fucking goofy ass nigga is blowing me, Rob ain't saying none of this shit he is. He is not an aficionado. He was not anybody close to Rob, like he was a fucking goofy. And that's the only space that he carried. Period. I mean, so for everybody to keep believing this dude, it's like, look at what his title is. He's an actor. It says the actor, so he's damn good at convincing people that what he's saying is real. But it's bullshit. It's straight bullshit. And he's doing everything in his power to disrupt the people that are working to get that man free. So, if Chaos Nation is coming out. It's coming out. And unfortunately, we can't rely on the United States because the goofy motherfuckers like him exist. So we put it all overseas first to get momentum and to raise money so that it can go towards his defense. Period.
But wait. But if you would leave it up to him, he's doing the R. Kelly Defense Fund. Should he have a defense? What we got to raise money for?
Hey, listen, he got it, but Rob ain't got it. And I see that nigga buying new cars and moving in houses and all that shit and get better backdrops and they got a whole TV show now, whatever you call it. But everybody else that's getting modest income ain't blowing like he is with that shit. Anybody paying that motherfucker, he got about 3,000 followers. How did he go from doing shit on his cell phone to having a whole podcast set up?
Right.
How did he do that?
Right, and then he go say everything he got it from the firm. Boy, the firm wasn't even out long enough, nigga. You been scamming since last year. The fuck you talking?
Exactly. He been scamming motherfuckers since the beginning. That's how he got them girls out of their money that he brought down at the meat rob. He was bringing people in the meat rob and charging them with $700 a sum a pop. He would get you a photo rob. He been using Rob for fucking longer. All this shit about somebody. I'm putting Rob's music on. I'm making that public. I'm telling you this right now. I'm putting his music, his videos, for paying. People, we need for profit. We need money for them to go towards the real defense. We have 3 different high and powerful law firms that are ready to take Rob's case. I mean, know what they're going to costs, and we have to raise money for them. The platform that I'm putting them out on, it will show how much money is coming in, and it will show the money being donated to this firm to represent his case. And it has to be done a strategic way so that the people can't come in and have liens against them and take the money. Period. So there are a lot of liens against him. And that's and by him being a warning state, if he gets convicted, they're gonna come after all of his shit. So this goofy ass motherfucker dropping music, it's hard.
So with all of that being said, and I withstood all of the trials and tribulations and all the lies, it kind of made me laugh, you know. It kind of made me laugh because at the end of the day, it's like he's going on platforms telling everybody, oh, this goofy DanaJay, oh no, he's stealing from Rob, he doing this. And you got the so-called people that claim that they for Rob. You got the so-called people running with the narrative, and you got me sitting there laughing, breaking down every last one. Now, here's what I want to go back and revisit. How can I charge people $700 a pop to go see Rob if I didn't know him? Then the story switched from I didn't know him to I was a mole. Then it switched from I didn't know him to being a mole to trying to set him up. Then it switched from I didn't know him to being a mole to trying to set him up to I don't know him like that. Then it switched from I didn't know him to being a mole to trying to set him up to I don't know him like that. Now the new thing is, oh, Rob ain't talked to you. So I just let people talk. Because when you let them talk, you hear all the stupid stuff that they talk about. So with that being said, everybody that you heard trying to capitalize off of Rob was only Don, his mom, and all the people that follow Don. If you pay attention, right? What I've learned that a lot of them Chicago, city slickers like to do is they will fast talk and they will double talk. And if you let them fast double talk, they would tell on themselves. Because at the same time, Don Russell was like, oh, I'm partly enemy number one. He came back on the platform and when DJ Tyson was homeless and said, oh yeah, I got to go send him some money. So hold on. Why do you got to go send him some money if he ain't working for you? Why do you got to go send him some money if you ain't know him like that? Why you got to go send him some money if you wasn't the one that called him and said, but I had Richard Allline call him and say, I got some work for you to do. This is what I mean when I say people tell on themselves. So now it brings me to situations where they wanted Doug out the way because Doug wouldn't do what they wanted Doug to do. And that's stop dealing with me. Check it out.
Go ahead, tell us the story.
Okay, alright, so y'all know my birthday was on Wednesday, so I've been trying to, I've been partying all night, so all this Sylvia shit, no. Okay. I've been telling people for a while, I know things. Okay, so I got the inside track and I got all of the receipts to prove what I'm saying. Like I'm lit. I'm probably on like 37 shots of Hennessy right now.
Oh my shit, to give us the 411.
Okay, so alright, Sylvia didn't hire MA. Okay? Sylvia didn't do it. Alright? And if I'm lying, my feet ain't left the ground. Okay. So me, I started this thing called Boots on the Ground. All right. It was me, Marlene the Kid, Michelle Nunley, Tina Trina, and it's Fig. And if I mention you, then I'm sorry. Like Wish, just a bird. Okay, so anyway, long story short, I did an interview with Don Russell because we started doing research. And once we started doing research, we said, like, we talked to the lawyers. Marlena got me on the phone with Mike Leonard and with Steve Greenberg. And so it was just simple shit that they didn't know. Like how in the superseding indictment in New York, they were saying that R. Kelly gave Faith Rogers drugs to induce her. But, she's from San Antonio. And then I think out there in San Antonio is like Broward County. Or if it's not Broward County, it's something very similar to that. So, we went out there, we checked the county records. Like I told you earlier, you got to check them county records. So, in 2015, Faith Rogers has a charge for, she got a marijuana charge. So when I got on the phone with Mike Leonard, then, we brought that up to them. This is basic stuff that they don't know. Now, these are R. Kelly's attorneys. So they don't know that Faith Rogers, the person who's accusing him of giving her drugs to intoxicate her and take advantage of her, already has drug charges. At that point, we determined that these lawyers were not going to work. The only person up until that point who was saying that R. Kelly needed new lawyers was Don Russell.
Listen to what he said. We determined, not R. Kelly, but we determined. And the only other person that's been saying that was who? Don Russell. Let's continue.
So I called Don Russell up, okay, and I still got the notes in one of my phones. He started talking to me about lit the biz. A guy by the name of White Herzog. He started talking about R. Kelly publishing in the Sony portal and like 10 or 15 other things that I got documented. But just to stay on topic, I talked to Don Russell and then I did a live stream. On that live stream, Sharon was in the room. So we wound up connected and then, I checked them out and figured out that they were legit. So, Sharon was telling me, like, yo, he has lawyers, but Doug Anton is from New Jersey. In order for him to be charges in New York, he needs a lawyer from New York. Doug Anton is from Michigan. And Tom Farrinella is an entertainment lawyer. So, this is when we started to go get Alan Dershowitz, the guy who got OJ off. So we went out and got Alan Dershowitz. Alan Dershowitz said, I'm going to be too expensive for you, but let me go get one of my young G's. That's when we got Arthur Ayadala. Now, this retainer that Prima Donna loves to pop up is because Lisa and Cassandra, they reached out to, I'm sorry, not even Lisa and Cassandra, it was Lisa who reached out to me, and she said, hey, holla at me, gave me her number, blah, blah, blah. So at that point, once I got in contact with them, MA1 Investigation, I connected them to Lisa Kelly. Now, unfortunately, at this time, had called Terry, I forgot her last name, but about Small Fry. And I went to school, I went to school, but I know her daughter, Lachey, because we used to work at this company called West Asset Management, which was like a loss mitigation department for Wells Fargo back in 2009. So, we connected, long story short. R. Kelly called Terry one day, and he said, I love what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. Get in touch with my sisters, Lisa and Cassandra. When Terry told me this, I connected him. We connected with Sean. Sean put together a preliminary report, and we could not get in it. So I'm sorry, we couldn't really make no traction from her. So this is when I got in contact with what's her name? Alexis. Now Alexis, she referred me to a lady named Janet. I forgot her name, but she runs something called Yep Papers. So I gave them my government credentials. Now I used to work for the National Geospatial Agency, and ran the U Fire Service military. So this is an intelligence agency.
Yeah, I already know.
All verifiable. Long story short, I send Janet my information, my credentials, so I'm legitimate. Long story short, and Janet, it never got no traction. So after a while, Lisa got in touch with Sean. Sean gave a PI report, and we mailed that to R. Kelly in jail. When we mailed it to R. Kelly in jail, he said, "This is shit I've been waiting for." And when he said that this is what he's been waiting for, then, long story short, Lisa got in touch with him. He sent her an email request for the government, messaging system, whatever the fuck it is. So when he sent her that, they were in direct contact. And once they got in direct contact, that's how traction started happening on the R. Kelly case. Because he like, yeah, I need private investigators and stuff like that. And of course, MA1 or private investigators. So I connected them. And so this piece of paper that Prima Donna loves to show were not a retainer agreement again. Lisa and Cassandra, I'm sorry, not even Lisa and Cassandra, but they can't really speak to legalese the way that I can. My boss.
Oh, his shit cut out.
So with that being said, you can see how everything is forming, how everything is shaping, right? So like I said, you really don't need all of what they asking. You just need certain people. So with that being said, and we're going to look at some stuff. First things first. Let's look at Sparkle and her comments when her name was brought up in trial. What up, Brooke? Let's look at these comments. Yeah, let's get them likes up. Sparkle said, absolutely not. I can't help the lies told on me and under oath at that, and cause your mama mad at me because y'all were forced to testify. Hold on. This is why I say she needed to be brought in. Because of her lies. You hear her say that her mama, and you hear her say her sister, which is Rashona mama, and Rashona did what? Told lies on her and under oath. So if she's saying they told lies on her, they had to tell lies on R. Kelly. So now they're saying at that, and cause your mama mad at me because y'all were forced to testify. So why would they be mad at Sparkle? Because they were forced to testify. And she ain't said it in lowercase, she said it in caps. Which means that Sparkle forced a lie. And then whoever this 100P said, I as Sparkle, let them know. So at that point, we all that was watching this as it played out, we all knew that the lie was in play. And then Miss Parker, whoever this is, said, Sparks been spoke out and they shunned her. She been minding her business and staying away from the perv since, right? Okay, cool. But it don't negate the fact that they were forced to testify, which means they were coerced. They were forced. They did it against their will. And guess what? What was the prize? Lifetime Section 8, lifetime food stamps for you and your family, a removal from Chicago to LA, and a $20 million bag just to say that you was on that goddamn tape. Now, they all want to come back and recant their stories. Right? So, hinting back to when they said, do they know the age or whatever, right? Watch this. If they were underage, don't you think the runners would have known? Because if Rob is booking flights, right? He got to know the date that he gonna book it and the time frame. He got to know the name. He got to know the name. He got to know the date of birth. Which leads you to believe that that underage stuff was a lie. Let's take it there. We all talked about this already. Put a threesome with Elisa Van Allen, and she was chased off the stand many times and she didn't want to come back to court. You see the closeness between Sparkle and JoJo, right? So at the end of the day, you see the closeness in the years of them two. So JoJo was up under Sparkle, not under Aaliyah. Now see how the stories have been forged? Let's see what this is. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on. No, I don't want to see this. That's part 2. I don't want to see that. Then you have Keith and Chuck. This dude, he look like an old senior citizen now. So, if you pay attention to what's being said, it says, at home trying to figure out if my VCR still works. I ran across this talent, Sonny Black, Ernest Dixon, Keith Casino, and Morrell, and G.S. Smith. I guess they was a singing group. But if you look at this, it says, come on, TBE, if it wasn't for Rachel Dion, we would have been the biggest stars in the world, laugh out loud. So Rachel Dion said, ha ha ha, what did she do? Tell Rob he had to stop showering y'all. Ha ha. So I didn't know how to take that. So I was like, okay, I don't know how to take that. But this guy said that the tape that he saw, it looked like consensual adults consenting to a threesome. Okay? From that point, let's go here. From that point, let's look at Prado. It says, trial set for August 11th. I testified first this case last year. And here we go again. Public announcements. I want everyone to know that I am not a victim. I showed up to that man as a witness and a naughty little girl that he adored. As much as I would like to forget most of the memories with R. Kelly and with what officials call abuse, He is a strong influence in my sound and taught me lots for nearly a decade. I can never forget him because he's always surfacing. But at the end of the day, I am the girl that never spoke. So I get my chance now, and more than likely will do it to an R beat. R. Kelly is the soundtrack of my life. Not agreeing with his choices, but he's the king, period. Hold on. This is the Minnesota chick. I got a question. The way that this worded is double talking. But when she showed up, Lisa Van Allen was 19 in Florida. Now watch this. Something them never took the stand. Lisa Van Allen's ex-boyfriend, Damon Pryor, the defense's surprise witness, who may or may not have talked to Van Allen about a Chuck and Keith, planning to set R. Kelly up. Her friend, Adelina Prado, who may or may not, and then it cuts off. I got to get this whole thing right here. But this is who Prado is. So when we talk about the illustrious P tape, as they like to call it, people are so manipulated. When I told you they was trying to put Rashona face on here, it was Adelina Prado, a.k.a. Bird, that was in the tape, not Rashona Landfair. Now, do Robert have Rashona Landfair on a tape? They said it was Rashona when she was of age, Andrea and him. But this epic P tape is Birdie, as I've been telling everybody. And in that tape is a split scene because you got Birdie and Rob, and Birdie was 19, and then you got Damon and Lisa Van Allen. So it's a split scene. She was the one taking the money, and then it's split. Like I've been telling people from day one. But no, Dana don't know what he's talking about. Dana just a super fan. Dana this. So let's go here. Adelina Prado said, me on the set of Good Morning America in 2017, taping for the R. Kelly sex scandal. Stop. Stop. If Surviving R. Kelly ain't come out until early 18, right? They was taping in 17. And she was on a set of Good Morning America. So here's my question. Why didn't that segment air on Surviving R. Kelly? See, it's so many holes that you can break down in this stuff. And for people to say, oh yeah, he guilty, but I heard this all along. Stop going by hearsay. Because everybody got a rumor put out on him. But the question is it true? That's the problem. Everybody got a rumor, but is it true? So it says, being interviewed exclusively for 1 out of 2 cases I'm attached to with him. Hold on. Why wasn't the cases that she was attached to presented in New York? Then it says, no, people, the interview did not air, thankfully. A non-compete clause. Hold on. Wait a minute. If y'all telling y'all truths, why would you have to sign a non-compete clause? Hold on. If y'all going to talk about Rob NDAs, let's talk about lifetime NCCs. Come on. This is the stuff that I sent to Canick for Canick to break down, and he didn't do it. I need to know. If you want to talk about Rob NDAs, why not talk about lifetime NCCs? And then it says, would have made it hard to defend myself after the fact. Yes, people, I have 12 years attached to that man. No, people, I don't regret one moment. It was an experience being with him daily for years and going on tours with him. I was exposed to the king of R&B, period. Hold on. If she was there for 12 years and she was exposed only to the king of R&B, period, where's the herpes? Where's the herpes? And then she said it wore off on me too, amongst other shit. It was a ride. And yes, people, I will share my story one day soon, once my album Bird Song is complete, with glam content for my social media and with a line of merch to sell at my events. I've been attached to both cases. I've got a story to tell, period. But this Gucci though, Gucci got me looking wholesome. Shit got me looking like old money, honey. Something you would take home to mama. Just don't tell her I fucked and sucked R. Kelly, to be brief. Laugh out loud. Do I have to go anymore? At no point have she talked about she had herpes. And she been there longer than most. So now, what's the story? Prada was a liar? Prada was there from Florida. Prada was there from the TP2 album. Back when Lisa Van Allen and was walking up Sunset Boulevard with nothing but a black trench coat and was looking finer than all's fine wine. So what Bonjean is talking about is what they're saying doesn't constitute an enterprise. Because it says this might be a crime family, a street gang, or a drug cartel, but it may also be a corporation. Uh-oh. RSK Enterprises is what? A corporation. So this setup was in effect a long time ago. Then it says a political party or a managed care company. The enterprise just has to be a discrete entity. But an enterprise is not the same as an individual. So if the enterprise is not the same as an individual, how can one man be an enterprise? I said that from day one, but then Captain George Jefferson ran with it. If an enterprise is not the same as an individual, how can one man be an enterprise? And it goes back to what I was telling y'all from day one. They took him from out of the individual status and made him a corporation by his birth certificate and social security card. And what's good, Gabba? They took him from an individual, a man or a female, and made him a corporation by his social security and birth certificate. That's how they were able to make him an enterprise by himself. So when people be telling you, oh, Dana don't know what he's talking about, it's in the paperwork. This is the RICO statute. So if Dana don't know what he's talking about, why is the RICO statute saying the same shit that DanaJay been telling y'all? Then it says, thus a corporation may be the enterprise. Thus a corporation may be the enterprise through which individuals commit crimes. So when I said Don Russell was using the paperwork incorrectly, was I lying? Because you see, he didn't get out of jail. And you see the stuff that he said that he had and to get robbed out of jail, it didn't get him out of jail. Make this sugar honey iced tea makes sense. Then it says, but it can't be both an individual and an enterprise. So what you got to do? And you got to pick one. How do you pick one? Well, Robert, have you reclaimed your birthright? I don't know what you're talking about. You are an enterprise. Then it says the criminal RICO statute provides for prison terms of 20 years and severe financial penalties. The law also allows prosecutors to attach assets so they can't be whisked out of the country before judgment. Watch this. This is a cover-up. That's bullcrap. They want to attach financial penalties because they want to bankrupt you, and so that way you can plead out, so that way the government can always have a 99.5% conviction rate. Make this make sense. Make this make sense. So with that being said, we're going to go back to Big Vi's channel, and we're going to listen to the rest of this. Let's go.
Ms. Bensing?
May it please the court, Assistant United States Attorney Kayla Bensing on behalf of the government. Good morning, Your Honors. I want to start with the defendant's challenge to his RICO conviction and what constitutes an enterprise. As the district court stated at the sentencing in this case, the defendant had a system in place that lured young people into his orbit, and then he took over their lives. And so I want to start with this claim that was made in the reply brief and is made today before the court, that the enterprise members or that the defendant used his inner circle to simply carry out anodyne activities. Demetrius Smith, the defendant's...
What evidence is there in the record that the staff...
Ain't that's what I just said? And the first person they go to is who? Demetrius Smith. Why did they go to Demetrius Smith? Because he wrote a book called The Man Behind the Man. And what was in that goddamn book? Also, they used a certain person videos. One thing you got to understand, whatever you turn over to the defense while the trial is going on, or even before the trial is going on, it becomes Brady material and 3500 material. And they can't withhold material. So the audio that you hear people playing around the YouTube streets, the audio that was played first 4 years ago is the same audio that got them hooked. And when they went and got Demetrius Smith, oh, we heard you talking on the audio, brother. This what you said on the audio, brother. Do you know this person? Let's finish.
Who arranged these things knew that they were underage.
Yes, Your Honor. So in September of 1994, I'll start there with the victim, Addie, who testified. She testified that she was 17. She was invited by Kelly's bouncers to come backstage at a concert in Miami. That was 3 days after Kelly's marriage to Aaliyah, in which he bribed a county official in order to hide or alleviate the consequences of illegal sexual activity. And obviously,
stop. She lied. She said where R. Kelly bribed a county official. How can you bribe somebody and you don't even know what the hell going on? Barry Hankerson plotted that whole thing. That was supposed to have been the album cut. Man, hold on. Because see, folks think it's a game. Because now we're going to go into it. Now we're going to go into it. Barry Hankerson came up with the idea like, yo, that can be a Leah's joint. Age ain't nothing but a number. This. Okay, cool. Not knowing that it's going to be used as a blackmail tool. So while we talking about this marriage certificate, right? Oh yeah, we gonna go there. Dana got it all. Dana got it all. This is the marriage certificate that was presented. Now I'm going to ask y'all questions. Do y'all see anything wrong with this marriage certificate? Do y'all see anything wrong with this marriage certificate? I'm going to see if y'all see it, and I'm going to leave it there for a second. I'm going to see if y'all know what's going on. 9428 5 I'm going to see if y'all can catch it. You said you can't see it, it's too small? Okay. Where is the seal over the signature? Uh-huh. That's one. No seal, two. Oh, man. I really got to break this down, don't I? Okay. All right. For one, there's no seals. That was the easy part. Here's the hard part. Pay attention to the names right here. It was like they were pasted on top of something. Right? On top of that, why the numbers look janky? Eights are not typed like this. On top of that, what number is this right here? Because this number is blacked out. On top of that, you're right. There's no witness. On top of that, you can look at David Orr joint. All of this looked like it was just janktified. Like it wasn't meant for a true marriage. Mishi said, oh, what up, Mishi? I ain't know you was in the bushes. Mishi said, and the dates are wrong. Date recorded September the 6th, 1994. Application date August the 30th, 1994. But I thought they got the application 2 days before. There you go, J-Rock. On top of that, issued where? Because issue, but then the D, it looked like something else painted over top of it. So when people talk, I sit back and listen. But watch this. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. Here's where I really get in my bag. Right? If this was so true, right? If this was so true, why did Aaliyah sue Cook County about putting this on public, about trying to put this on public record and about sending it out to the Vibe magazine? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. So let's go back and listen to this.
Members of his enterprise arranged for that bribery, and so we're well aware of that illegal sexual activity. A few years later, in 1998, Stephanie, who was the victim named in Racketeering Act 2, was approached at a McDonald's by a member of Kelly's entourage. He asked how old she was. She told him that she was 16. Kelly's associate then gave her Kelly's phone number and said Kelly wanted her to call him. This is the same girl who at 17 was instructed by Kelly to give him oral sex in the backseat of a car and to be vocal and make noise while doing so, so that Kelly's driver and another individual who were present in the car could hear, which was a obviously deeply humiliating experience for her. Turning next to Nicholas Williams, he was one.
Watch this. That was her word. That was her word, Stephanie's word against Rob's word. So you believe Stephanie? So now we live in an era where all women tell truth and no lie, huh? Let's finish.
One of the defendant's runners beginning in 2003. He answered phones and escorted Kelly's girlfriends inside of Kelly's studios, and he testified that Kelly's female guests were very young, keeping in mind that he was 19 at the time. He also testified that he could hear sexual activity and yelling between the defendant and his female guests. The jury is entitled to infer from that Kelly's employees helped maintain and facilitate Kelly's contact, including sexual contact, with these underage women. I want to also turn to Anthony Navarro's testimony. He was another one of the runners employed by Kelly. Navarro, who started working for Kelly in 2007, specifically identified that he would help answer phones for Kelly's girlfriends. That was his word, and there was some claim in the reply brief that these were just female guests, but he testified using the word girlfriends. And he identified them as looking very young, specifically mid-aged teenagers. And the jury heard testimony from Geronda about how she recognized Navarro as one of Kelly's runners who she interacted with when she was 16 years old being sexually abused by Kelly. In addition, there's Cheryl Mack. She was Kelly's assistant beginning in approximately 2013. She repeatedly saw Kelly with 17-year-old Jane. She had booked travel for Jane as early as April 2015, so she knew Jane's age. And a couple months later, in July of 2015, she testified that she observed Jane going to perform oral sex on Kelly. There's also Suzette Mayweather's testimony. She learned that Jane was 17 years old in the fall of 2015. She knew that...
I'm going to pause that for a second, right? Do anybody know who Cheryl Mack's son is? If you know who Cheryl Mack's son is, put it in the chat. I got to go get some Tootsie Rolls on this. Watch how I bring this full circle. Do anybody know who Cheryl Mack's son is? Okay. Let me make it easy for you. Do anybody know what female Cheryl Mack brought to Rob first? What up, Shank? Y'all say we got London on the track. So, watch this. Rob wouldn't let London do too much as far as producing for him. So, can you see where Cheryl got mad and started putting out lies? Now watch this. Y'all don't gotta believe me. You know what I'm saying? Y'all don't gotta believe me. So what I'm gonna do, is every name she called, right? I'm gonna show you something. Every name she called, I'm gonna break down. Stephanie, Navarro, Geronda on the cross. Oh, y'all forgot the blueprint of surviving R. Kelly is right here in my possession. And it came from where? Cheryl Mack. And out of all the lies, the truth is at the end of page 5. Out of all the lies, the truth is at the end of page 5. I was discharged by Linda Joan and KG, Robert ultimately lowered my responsibilities to focusing only on his guests and the homes, and it was grueling. So yeah, and we're gonna break it down. And if I have any content creators that want me to send them one, that's what we'll do. I break down one, you break down one, the other one break down one, and we'll go to each and every page while we break this down and while they read that junk. Because see, the problem is the other side got a lot of unity, even when they lying. This side got a lot of pride and no unity. And you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. Don't get mad at me. I'm just sitting here telling you the whole breakdown. Now I'm going to ask this question. When a woman's fed up, was Robert telling the truth? Or was he joking? I'm going to let you think about that. Let's finish.
That Jane was one of Kelly's girlfriends. She observed her following all of the same rules as Kelly's other girlfriends. There's also testimony from Jane about Juice, who was another one of the defendant's girlfriends, but whom Jane testified acted as one of the defendant's assistants. Juice helped teach Jane rules, and Juice also knew Jane's age. I believe that's SA 527. So this is all evidence that the jury was entitled to infer that Kelly's inner circle knew what was going on, that he was recruiting and maintaining underage women for sexual activity.
Does the, I guess the allegation that Kelly was also inducing these folks to come in violation of state law because he was infected, is there evidence that his entourage or the folks in the enterprise knew about Kelly's status as
Uh-oh. Now, I want y'all to pay attention to this part. Because when I give you my overall synopsis of this, it's going to help you understand where I'm coming from. Watch this.
Infected with herpes?
Yes, there is. There's testimony that his assistants picked up his Walgreens records. Anthony Navarro, who was one of the runners, testified that he would pick up Valtrex for Kelly. That's at A467 to 68. Diana Copeland accompanied Anna, who was one of the testifying victims at the trial, to the hospital for her STD test. And only Diana Copeland received the results of that test, not Anna. Juice, again, who Jane testified was like an assistant to Kelly, took
Was
Jane.
there evidence that the staff knew that Kelly wasn't disclosing his condition?
Well, a number of the women, in fact, got an STD. They were not just exposed to it, but they, in fact, got an STD.
But that doesn't go to the consent question. I mean, if they consented, then it wouldn't be a violation of state law, right? If the girls had consented, knowing that he had herpes, that would not violate state law?
Well, the state law, I believe the state law, the violation is specifically exposing somebody to an STD. The jury was instructed that R. Kelly did not also give consent in those, that they did not give consent in those circumstances. So that was part of the jury instructions.
Right, but my question is, was there evidence that the staff knew that there was lack of consent?
Well, I don't think that there was direct testimony on that, but I do think that a jury, drawing all inferences in the government's favor, was entitled to infer that from the evidence that did exist. And again, just to complete the record on that, about the testimony by Jane about Juice, that Juice took Jane to see a doctor in downtown Chicago, and she was prescribed medication for her herpes infection. I also, though, want to talk about another illegal sexual activity for which there is tons of enterprise evidence that that Kelly has not really raised on appeal at all, and that is forced labor. That the defendant obtained labor and services here, sex acts, through threats of serious harm or physical restraint against the victims. And the evidence is replete with examples of how tightly tied the forced labor charges and the predicate acts were to the enterprise.
So I'm a little concerned about applying the forced labor statute in this context, because it seems that you run the risk of really federalizing all kinds of state sexual assault and being able to turn it into federal offenses with much different consequences for the individuals. Can you address that concern?
Yes, of course. And I would just return the court to the plain language of 18 U.S.C. Section 1589A, which prohibits whoever knowingly provides or obtains the labor or services of a person by any number of combination of the then subsections of that, which includes a scheme, plan, or pattern intended to cause the person to believe that if the person did not perform that labor or services, the person or person would suffer serious harm or physical restraint.
So wouldn't that apply to any kind of rape prosecution?
So I don't think the court has to reach the outer boundaries of what the statute may or may not apply to in this case, because there was a clear pattern that was far beyond something like a one-time rape. So for the specific victims,
But in some cases, we are talking about just one or two instances, right?
Well, I don't think so. So as to Geronda, what was charged was a specific instance as to the forced labor. But of course, there was an entirety of the pattern that led up to that specific incident where he choked her, he spit on her, and then he made her perform oral sex on him. What led up to that was a whole series of Kelly enforcing his rules, teaching her the rules, enforcing the rules, and then punishing her.
So you think we should focus on the actions that constituted the force as opposed to the labor that was forced?
Well, I think as to labor and service under this court's definitions of those recently in Ranieri and recently in Marcus, sexual activity, I think, clearly falls within the definition of the expenditure of physical or mental effort, especially when fatiguing, difficult, or compulsory. The performance of work commanded or paid by another. And of course, in the context of prostitution, I think that the court would have no issue finding that that constitutes forced labor. And here, this is no different. A sex act is a sex act.
But what about a single one? What about a single rape?
Well, again, I don't think that the court has to reach the question of the sort of the outer boundaries of that question about a single rape. I guess what I would say is here, the conduct has met the elements of forced labor, and I think even the district court noted in its opinion that this was the kind of case where the defendant had a pattern in place of making these women feel isolated and ashamed, and he used the enterprise to make them feel like they were confined and that they had no way out. There was an expert who testified at trial as well about the defendant's use of these isolation.
Right, but the issue is the labor component, it seems to me. So what does the isolation have to do with labor? It might all be true, but where is their labor?
Well, I am just pointing the court to the other portion of Section 1589, addressing the court's question as to whether a single rape could constitute forced labor. I think here, sexual activity can constitute labor or services.
Right, we know that. Ranieri says that.
What?
What about the facts here? This is very different than Ranieri, right?
Well, I think in many ways it is similar. For example, the women were forced to give over collateral. Geronda, who was one of the victims of the forced labor charge, testified about how she had to write false letters. Faith also was forced to send a text message.
But is that the labor? So writing false letters is the labor?
No, the labor.
I mean, Ranieri, these folks were doing other things. They were doing things for free, right? That would be easily described as labor. Some of it sexual, some of it not.
Well, again, I think that people pay money for work on websites, people pay money for transcribing tapes and reviewing articles, and people pay money for sex. So I think under the definition that this court has given in Ranieri.
So I think that's where we're back again. You keep saying we don't need to go to the outer boundary, but it seems to me your argument is any sex acts, including a rape, is forced labor.
I believe that sexual activity does count under this court's definition of labor.
Let us pray the pimp's prayer. Lord, please pray for the soul of this bitch and guide my pimp hand and make it strong, Lord, so that she might learn a hole's place.
And service. And again, I would just note that, of course, the other provisions of the forced labor statute would also have to be met. And that may be where there's a limiting principle in terms of whether a single rape would constitute forced labor, because the whole other part of the statute would have to be met, which includes as relevant to this case, the use of the means of any scheme, plan, or pattern intended to cause the person to believe that if they didn't perform the labor and services, that person or another person would suffer serious harm or physical restraint. And so that brings me back, I think, to sort of my initial point, which is, and I see that I'm over my time, so I can continue to address sort of the record evidence.
Please go ahead. There are a lot of issues here, so we may want to get to some others too.
Okay, so just very briefly, I think the record is replete with evidence that the enterprise was tightly tied to the facilitation of the forced labor predicate acts in this case. Members of the inner circle heard Kelly beating his girlfriends. They knew that Kelly was isolating his victims, and they helped him do it, including by enforcing his punishments, such as watching over them while they were confined to a bus for prolonged periods of time. There's testimony about that from the Mayweather sisters, from Diana Copeland, and employees were punished when they didn't comply. There were financial sanctions when they, for example, Copeland testified that she let Anna escape. And so I have numerous other examples of that, but if the court has questions about any of the other charges.
I'd like to ask about restitution.
Yes.
And about, it seemed to me that the record was weak, that Kelly infected Jane and the second young woman with herpes in states where the exposure was illegal. And I wondered if what the government's position is on that. If Kelly gave Jane herpes in the state where the exposure was legal, someplace other than New York or California, do you agree that she would not be entitled to restitution?
Well, I think the record here establishes that the first time that Jane had sex with Kelly, so her first exposure to the STD was when she was in California. And that was the basis for that particular racketeering act and for the charge as well. And so that was the first time that she was exposed. She subsequently, later that summer, tested positive for having herpes. And so I think that the record has demonstrated that the crime was exposing her to herpes, and there's direct causation that she...
Now, I should have known Vibe was going to do something stupid. And he put it up there. Find it. That's too much. Shaking my head. No, it's not. Girl, you better get with the program. You better stop taking shit for granted. That man just spent $20K or better on you. Ain't getting no coochie. And then you not at his show. That's disrespectful. A slap in the face. Really? You better do some crocodile tears. Do you take anything serious? Somebody lying. But let's finish.
She then later contracted herpes, and just to close the gap, she also testified that she had not been with any other sexual partners at that time.
See, the devil busy. See, the devil won't act stupid. But he got time.
So I think here we do have direct and proximate causation, and of course, the district court had the facts to make that determination. And as to Stephanie. So she had filed, I believe she'd filed a letter with the district court indicating that the defendant had exposed her with herpes, and that was part of the sentencing record. But in addition, the government had referenced a report of investigation, an interview that she had given to HSI agents that during the time that she was with Kelly, he never wore a condom.
Yeah, let me go back. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at my notes.
Yes.
But wasn't by the time that Kelly met Jane, wasn't he on Valtrex by then?
So the testimony was that, first of all, herpes can be transmitted even while you are taking Valtrex. That was part of the expert's testimony in this case. And there was also testimony that his use of Valtrex was very inconsistent. So there's testimony from his doctor that the doctor would prescribe 11 months of Valtrex, and then 4 months later, he'd have to be prescribing more Valtrex. So I think there's testimony from which the district...
You know you fucked up right there, right? If the doctor prescribed 11 months of Valtrex, why would he need to come back 4 months later? So now you're trying to say rob a drug dealer. Now you're trying to say he was selling Valtrex, right? Mm-hmm. Keep going.
The court could conclude that he was not taking Valtrex as it was prescribed, which simply increases even more the risk that he could transmit herpes to
And this
Jane.
is applying a preponderance standard.
Exactly,
in any
of course,
event,
Your Honor.
Okay. So if you could address Stephanie now.
Yes, thank you so much. So, so in this report of investigation from HSI, which the government referenced in its letter seeking restitution for Stephanie, we represented that the only person that she was with was Kelly at that time, and that was in 1999. Of course, in 2000, Kelly did have a negative culture for herpes, but there was testimony from both his doctor and the expert witness in this case that it is actually quite frequent that you might get a negative culture even when you have herpes because the timing of that test.
And there was evidence that she was having sexual relations with no one else?
Correct. That was part of the report of investigation that the district court had before it. There was a specific 3500 piece that was referenced.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask you, I guess, to come back to what I think is a legal point? Do you?
Hold on, Judge. I got a question. If the doctor prescribed R. Kelly 11 months of Valtrex, and then 4 months later he needed some more, that means he's super Valtrexed up, right? That means he can't transmit nothing because he's taking 12 at a time. Somebody lied, can't get straight. And then also, as Vi put up there, in Cali, they ain't do nothing. He spent $20K and they ain't getting no coochie. So how was she contracted with herpes in LA? I'll go a step further. How does she have herpes now? And nobody in Dubai had it when she went over there. Make this shit make sense. Let's go.
You agree with Ms. Bonjean that there has to be an illegal purpose in order to establish an enterprise, which is really the first element of the RICO claim?
No, I think as we have made very clear in our brief, that is nowhere in the text of the statute, that is nowhere in the Supreme Court's precedent, and in fact, there is precedent in this circuit that does not require any sort of illegal common purpose, and specifically the court's opinion in Daddario, but also a recent summary order in this circuit in the Ranieri case. In that case, there was a completely legal common purpose that was alleged, and this court found that was completely sufficient.
Right, and then I guess the next question is that I think Ms. Bonjean's argument is that when you've decided to charge an enterprise with a list or a series of purposes, her view is you have to prove them all beyond a reasonable doubt, or you haven't proved the enterprise in question.
Well, the jury instructions, in fact, stated that the government is not required to prove each and every allegation about the enterprise or the manner in which the enterprise operated. The enterprise must be essentially the one that was alleged in the indictment. And for all of the reasons I started with today, the enterprise was the one that was alleged.
Well, I guess that's the question. Is it essentially the one charged in the indictment if the jury only finds 3 of the 4 purposes proven beyond a reasonable doubt?
Yes, I absolutely think that it is. It's not like there's some sort of unfair surprise that R. Kelly's enterprise was the Gambino crime family. I think if the court looks at the definition of the enterprise in the indictment, the means and the methods used by the enterprise, those were proved by the government at trial. And so I think that there is sort of no way on this record, and I can continue to go through the various factual allegations if the court was like, but I would also reference the court to the district court's very thorough opinion in this case as a place to look for the evidence of the enterprise, which was one I think that was alleged in the indictment. So I think under the factual record, there can be no doubt that the government proved that the enterprise was essentially the one alleged in the indictment.
All right, and nobody asked for a special verdict form that would have the jury identify which purposes were proven beyond a reasonable doubt.
Nor that's of course true, and I think that this argument has been thoroughly waived, including by the statements today that the jury instructions were appropriate under both parties' position. But also, I think we're talking about the existence of an enterprise, and a common purpose is sort of one sub-element of what constitutes an association in fact enterprise. So I don't think that there need to be any sort of special verdict as to which common purpose was proved.
You mean if they all thought that what they were doing was just promoting his brand and music, that the illegal purposes would be irrelevant to the enterprise?
Well, again, in Ranieri, there was a very similar common purpose that was alleged. It was to promote Ranieri and to recruit new members into the pyramid organizations. That was the common purpose that was alleged, and this court found that that was sufficient. Now here, the government alleged additional common purposes, and the government continues to submit that the proof at trial was overwhelming, and certainly that the jury's verdict should be credited.
The criminality is picked up by the pattern of conduct.
Correct, and also the required nexus between the person acting through the enterprise to commit a pattern of racketeering activity.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Benson, we'll hear now from Ms. Bonjean for 3 minutes of rebuttal.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll start really briefly with the forced labor issue. Forced labor counts were based on a single act in both cases, Jahanda, an act of oral sex, and in Faith, an act of oral sex. I know the government, again, keeps referring to all of the enterprise activity the activity that they allege is enterprise activity. But at the end of the day, those forced labor counts were premised on a single act. Unless the court is prepared to say that a single act of oral sex, even if it's forced, frankly, constitutes forced labor, that is just making federal law coextensive with state law. And that is one of the problems with that argument, which we did raise in our opening brief. The government is taking the position that a RICO enterprise need not be rooted in criminality. That is what they are saying. And that is a new position that frankly is unique and not really supported, including by D'Addario, where D'Addario...
Well, in D'Addario, there was an estate that had to be administered, and there was nothing inherently illegal about that, right?
No, but the court in D'Addario did say, in the context of after finding the estate to be an appropriate structure, the exact language was, D'Addario found that the individual defendants were alleged to assist the executor of the estate to effectuate his schemes. It was an estate that effectuated schemes, an estate that engaged in criminal activity. It was an estate that engaged in illicit activity. And so what the government is saying is, in this case, if we merely charged the defendant with an enterprise that's common purpose was simply to promote his music, that would have been A-okay. But I think that is...
But why is that wrong if the government also has to prove a pattern of criminal activity, racketeering activity, and a nexus?
Well, I think in Boyle, the United States...
In other words, the RICO is looking at organizations that are then used to commit criminal acts. And it doesn't have to be a criminal organization. It could be a completely legitimate organization. But if it engages in racketeering activity, then it violates RICO.
Yes, but first of all, if you look at the racketeering acts, it's Defendant Kelly's acts. Those are the acts that are charged. There are no acts except perhaps, I guess we could make an argument about Demetrius Smith's conduct after he learned that there was illegal activity occurring with Aaliyah, allegedly. He's a little much of an outsider, but overwhelmingly, and in
keyword allegedly
involved the victims and defendant, not the enterprise, the alleged enterprise.
But I think you're conflating the fifth and the first elements of a RICO claim. The first is just the existence of an enterprise. It can be a labor union, right?
again, Your Honor, I'm not talking about the ascertainable structure. I'm talking about the
No,
structure.
I'm not talking about the
still has-
ascertainable structure either. I'm talking about the legal entity of a labor union is sufficient for
Agreed.
enterprise.
Agreed. It still has to
The
have a
fifth
purpose.
element, no, the fifth element is that the defendant conducted or participated in the conduct of the enterprise through his previously established pattern of racketeering activity. So it has to be a link between what the defendant is doing as a pattern of racketeering activity and the conduct of the enterprise. That's the last element. You seem to be flipping that into the enterprise, and I think that's where you're getting confused.
I don't believe I am. I think the United States Supreme Court in Boyle made it very clear that an enterprise has to be more than just the pattern of racketeering. It has to be.
Yes, it has to. Yes, an enterprise has to be demonstrated. An enterprise is defined as an entity, legal or not legal, that has purpose, structure, and form.
Right. And
And
one
history.
I'm sorry.
And history.
Yes. And one of the elements of the structure for an association, in fact, enterprise is a common purpose.
Right, but not an illegal common purpose.
Well, I mean, then we are, again, this is a new approach that would.
I don't think so. I mean, again, you didn't object to the jury instructions.
I
so don't
didn't
see
try.
how-
I didn't represent Mr. Kelly at trial.
No, I
would
mean,
point out.
not
But-
you personally, right?
But let me put. I think that that would have been a frivolous objection when every single, including the United States Supreme Court, has said these exact instructions are proper. What has never come up, and because the government has extended the RICO statute to a set of circumstances that's so beyond what the framers intended, which was to get at organized crime. And now we're talking about an organization with an alleged criminal, but not organized crime. And it is not enough simply that there be a pattern of racketeering that satisfies the enterprise. There has to be something more. The pattern of racketeering can be proof of the enterprise, but it cannot simply be the only evidence of the enterprise. And I think if the court looks at the evidence closely, the government conflates a lot of the evidence that came in, but at the end of the day, we are talking about, in a couple instances, some of these victims that testified were very clear that no one asked me my age. And if you're 17 years old in the state of Illinois, would not necessarily put anyone on notice that what's going to happen is illegal. It's preposterous to suggest that because a runner goes and picks up a famous person's medicine, that puts them on notice that Mr. Kelly is exposing and giving STDs to his partners. And for example, Cheryl Mack, as an example, she testified very clearly that when she saw some inappropriate conduct with Jane, she quit the next day. That is not evidence that she came together to participate in recruiting girls or producing child pornography. That's evidence that, whoa, this is not what I would approve of, and I'm out of here. So this shows that this was not a collection of people who had a purpose to recruit girls for sexual abuse or for child pornography. Whether they turned a blind eye, whether some of them suspected that some of these girls were underage, that's a whole different matter. And once we get into that sort of territory, where we're going to say that constitutes a RICO enterprise, well, we have a lot of organizations, we have a lot of frat houses, we have all types of organizations that are now going to become RICO enterprises. And that has not been the case. Frankly, if that was the case, it's unclear why Bernie Madoff wasn't prosecuted under a RICO theory, because he certainly was using the machinery of his organization to carry out a RICO enterprise, and yet he wasn't. So I think—
Well, he got 150 years. I don't know that it mattered, but I mean, I guess—
Agreed, but I think that if you look really closely at the law, these are all cases where it was assumed absolutely the RICO enterprise was criminal or illicit in nature. It would be contrary to the purpose of the statute. Now, I agree
well,
that
the standard instruction from SAND, which is generally what we look to in this circuit, says an enterprise includes any legal entity such as a partnership, corporation, or association. And then it goes on to describe non-legal entities that may also meet the definition. So your view is that that's a wrong instruction?
my view is that My view is this, that the instruction was proper in accordance with the way that instruction has been given throughout history in this district and the United States Supreme Court in Boyle. What is problematic is that it is clear that the heart of the purpose of this was illegal activity. That's what was charged. None of this evidence really went to promoting his brand or his music. All of the government's evidence allegedly went towards his illegal activity. So it's kind of disingenuous to say now, oh, well, we just needed to, there needs to be no nexus. We can just say that this was an organization that was out there promoting his music. And oh, by the way, there were, we can call it a RICO enterprise so long as Mr. Kelly is doing these criminal activities and relying on his, again, underlings, whether they know it or not, to facilitate it. And that, I think, is not what was contemplated by the framers of this statute.
All right. Well, thank you both. We will reserve decision. That concludes the arguments on our argument calendar. We will also reserve the two that have been put on submission. And with that, I'll ask Ms. Beard to adjourn.
Now, here's what I say. When they said they reserve for decision, the reason why I say it don't sound good is because they looking at it like the government got some good points and Bonjean have some good points. So now they're going to go back, all three of them, and they're going to sit back and they're going to determine who points outweigh the other points. Now, the government sticks with the government. That's why I said it's not going to be a good thing. The government stick with the government, but they also caught the government in a bunch of lies. That's why they kept asking the question in the way they asked them. Bonjean let them get to her at the end, and you can kind of sense it a little bit, but then she had to pull it back in, as she always do, which is a great lawyer tactic. However, the ignorance of the judge, that plays a part in why I said it's not a good thing either. Because if you can sit back and pull up pull up a file and say, oh, well, he had STD, this and this and this and this, but you can't tell me if Bonjean was his lawyer or not, that's problematic for me. Because to read it is more sensitive than it is to actually see it. To hear it is more damning to actually see it. That's why they went about it the way they went about it in New York. And Kanek should have objected to that and said, no, I want everybody to see what's going on, but he didn't. I said this, y'all heard, and when certain folks said they brought Kanek and them in, yes, I think Kanek, he tried to do the best he can, but he was out of his league. And I was there. That part right there, Vet, she still got her point across. She still got her point across. So when people come on that platform talking about, oh no, Bonjean was weak, this and this and this and this, it pisses me off because you're a critic. What could you have done? And I broke it down that way. What could have you have done? That part, Gemini. So I'm just saying, this is just part one. I got all of the transcripts, and we gonna break down all of them. The first one we gonna start with is Addie. Addie is only 57 pages. And we're going to go back and revisit Addie. Shout out. I got to give Robert Keller a shout out because he's the one that sent me the paperwork on an Addie from R. Kelly Open Discussion Group. Because I just refuse to go and do certain things. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So, hey, I've been holding y'all too long. Check it out. DanaJay up out of here. Y'all be blessed. See y'all tomorrow when we break down Addy. Peace.
When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other.
I don't like to waste time on stupid conversation. There's no profit in that. So if I'm around people that are always complaining with no solutions, then I'm wasting real estate in my brain for what I need to project. And what I project in my brain is what I project in my reality. So that real estate only has to be for evolution, things that are going to help me get where I got to go. You understand? Help me evolve. So if my conversation with you makes me stagnate, we don't have too much conversation either. I don't have no time for no stupid ass conversation.
You are stronger than what you have been through. Let them misunderstand you. Let them talk about you. Their opinions are not facts. I need you to keep applying pressure, stay committed to yourself, and keep being authentic, no matter what they say or do. Don't you dare doubt your value. Don't you dare doubt your worth. Keep shining like you do. And stay locked in with God. God do not create a lock without his key. And God do not create a problem without a solution. Listen to me. You are stronger than what you have been through.